mostly in literary form.
Well, going into talking about motion pictures and then television, what about the advent of the videotape recorder? Now, For Whom the Bell Tolls was done on videotape.
Yes, it was. It was completely done on tape.
Is there a difference there working with videotape as to, say, 3 years ago when Playhouse 90 may have been done strictly live?
Yeah, there's a tremendous difference, Carl. And the difference is that you have all the advantages of both live and film. And I don't mean to get too technical on a program like this, but what it means is that you can do a scene in continuity with 3 or 4 or however many cameras you want to. And then at the end of that, you can stop, look at what you've done. If you don't like it, you do it again, because the playback on videotape is instantaneous. You don't have to wait for any processing or anything like that. And then you go on and you do your next scene. Or you can do segments of a scene and cut it together like a film. It's perfectly, in fact, it's very simple to edit videotape now. And it also gives you much greater dimension. And you can get out more, and you can do things that were literally impossible to do on live television, even as much as a year and a half ago. And by that I mean that I don't mean that we should do spectacles or anything like that, because I think that tape should just go one step further than live television was able to go.
It should go into where film does now. In fact, is there any danger in television, we're talking about videotape and editing it, is there any danger in television moving toward the same trend that motion pictures does, where a director loses some of his best shots on the cutting room floor?
Yeah, it's possible, Carl. I'm not going to say it isn't. I hope it doesn't happen. But, of course, the way to protect that is not to overshoot.
Well, what about, let's go into another area here in television, pay television. That's something that's quite prominent now and in much controversy. How do you feel about pay television? Let's say putting yourself into that position. Do you think you could do a better job, or?
Well, Carl, in theory, pay television, I think, is magnificent. How it's going to turn out in actual practice is a question that no one can answer. If the same people get in control of it, as are now in control of the Hollywood output of motion pictures, I could say the results would be disastrous. Because after all, look, motion pictures have no advertisers, do they? They never have had. And yet, I think that the quality of American movies is just absolutely shocking. And I'm afraid that most people are going to go into pay television for a quick buck. It stands to reason that you can make an awful lot of money out of it when you stop to consider that you don't have to wait 3 years for a picture to play all around the world. You just pick up the telephone next morning and call up and say, how much money did I make? And I think that if people go into it for those reasons and try and do that kind of product, I just hate to say what would happen to it. On the other hand, I think that it's perfectly possible that maybe good things will come out of it. I hope so.
On For Whom the Bell Tolls, now, I suppose you had quite a few problems, and I think most of our listeners would be interested to hear some of the main problems that you ran into, first of all, doing it in 2 successive weeks and so forth.
Well, that, of course, was not my problem. That was the network's problem, because I pre-taped the whole show, so I shot it as one complete segment, a little bit of it out of continuity and things like that. My problems mainly were trying to literally shoot this in 11 days, which is what we had, plus 4 weeks rehearsal. Now, that might sound to you like a lot of time, except that I had actors that were in Broadway plays, so I had to let them go at 6 o'clock at night. I also couldn't work Wednesday and Saturday afternoon. And I had a few censorship problems, not many. In fact, we managed to win on every point. I think the big problem that I had in For Whom the Bell Tolls was that this was entirely a new technique. No show had ever been done this way before. No show had ever been completely pre-taped in segments, as this was. I mean, there were 480 segments to pre-tape in For Whom the Bell Tolls, so that'll give you an idea of what it was. Where in a live television show, you go from beginning to end. Here we would shoot out of continuity. I mean, we did the last scene, strangely last, which was not the way it was originally planned, but that's the way it turned out. But we did all the war stuff together, and all the cave scenes together, and things like that. And television just wasn't geared for that type of a production at that particular time. And also, we were operating out of very small studios in New York, and the space problem was tremendous. I mean, we would be ripping down one set, and then we'd be going to another studio, and everybody was commuting back and forth in taxi cabs. And it was quite a wild rat race, the whole thing. And if I had it to do over again, I'd do it, you know?
Well, I
loved it. I loved doing it. It was a great experience for me.
I think most of the viewers of television today could certainly say, well, good luck to you, and hope that you can continue to do such things as that. That, for example, was one of the high points. Most people will agree with me on that. Our time is up, and I want to thank you very much for talking with us this evening, and I certainly hope you have a nice day here in Chapel Hill. That's it for